Welcome to the M26FIT Podcast, where we explore the connection between having a strong mind and a strong body.
Fantastic. Today's guest is Pushpa, leadership coach and entrepreneur. Thanks for coming onto the podcast.
Thank you, Magnus. I'm really grateful that you've invited me.
Yeah, so good that you could be here. So just to kick us off and to get us to know you a little bit better, would you mind just sharing a little bit of your backstory for us, please?
Yes, for sure. I am from the UK. However, I was born in Africa and my heritage is Indian. So that's the heritage background. In regards to the leadership side of things, I have probably been a leader for a very long time. And I have 9 brothers, 2 sisters.
Wow.
Yes.
That is a big family.
Yes. And I thank you. Kudos to my mother. I believe that my background has always been around leadership, around entrepreneurial, and I've felt that I'm not very much of an academic person, but a very practical person. Yeah, okay. And I live in Australia now.
Yeah. So how long have you been in Australia for?
It's going to be 15 years.
Okay. And how old were you when you moved from Africa to England?
Probably just under 2 years old.
Okay.
Yes. There's 9 siblings before me, and then myself, and then 2 brothers younger than me.
Yeah. Now that could just imagine the family get-togethers could be pretty epic.
Yeah, beautiful. Must be over 100 now. They're all back in the UK.
Yeah. And I know you're very passionate about personal development, and you're busy in that space. Could you give us share a bit of your personal development journey?
For sure. I believe my personal development started from the age of 5. It was a time when my teacher at a nursery school, so in the UK we used to go to nursery school as soon as possible, they asked my mother if I could be a role model for the other children that weren't being active or open or playing. And I just love studying people. Even though I wasn't doing it reading-wise, I love studying people, and it just interested me how they acted, how they behaved, what their thoughts processes were.
From the age of 5?
From the age of 5. And I can see, when I look at it on a holistic level, I can see why it happened, because at the age of 9, my mother introduced us to the Church of England. Well, she introduced us to Sunday school. And that was really interesting because I have a Hindu background, so it was interesting to see this side of a different belief. And not long after that, she passed. And the journey was interesting in that it was another step of personal development for me.
Yeah, okay. And just touching on career-wise, what's your background in that space?
So I'll go back to the personal development as well, because my career is very much linked to that. I am a trainer for Tony Robbins. I've been in that environment for nearly 20 years. Richard Bandler, who was the founder for Neuro-Linguistic Programming, I spent a few years with him. I studied psychology at college. I did my master's in accounting, and I practice as a clinical neuropractitioner now. However, one vow that I've always given myself from a very early age was to keep learning until my last breath. So personal development, even the diplomas that I've done has, yes. And as I mentioned, I'm not a very academic person, but I feel that I sort of retain information. That's maybe what's helped me in my exams. Yeah. And taking that into account, my first job was a welder.
That's an incredibly diverse and impressive background. Well done.
Yeah, that's exploration.
And charity work. Tell us a little bit. I know that's an area that you spend a little bit of time as well. Tell us a little bit about that.
So charity, community work, I've done as far back as I can remember. And I had this idea in my heart, but I never thought I'd be founding my own charity. I've supported a lot. I've sat on a lot of boards. I still sit on a lot of boards where we work around mental health, suicide prevention. And then 4 years ago, I probably went through the 7th most challenging times of my life. And it was at that time that I witnessed many, many people falling through the crack because lack of support, because of the systems, because of trust. And I thought, I am a person of faith, and why is this happening? And it was basically to found my charity.
Yeah. So what's that charity called?
The one that I have at the moment is the Women's Mentoring Foundation.
Yeah.
And we've just recently worked on the framework after doing some research last year. So we're focusing on culturally and linguistically diverse women and young people, and more so people that have gone through trauma. So it might be grief of any kind, might be domestic violence, might be the loss of somebody. We are even working with victims of human trafficking, people that have attempted suicide or have gone through family or siblings or somebody they love that have committed suicide. So there's a diverse range of things that impact us mentally, emotionally, spiritually. And if people can start the healing process, they can actually start getting on with their life.
Yeah, that's amazing. Well done. That's
Thank
awesome.
you.
Now, a positive game-changing moment in your life.
Positive game-changing moment would have been, I think, when I was sitting outside the library at 5 a.m. using their internet for free. And I thought, well, why is life happening? And I realized that life was happening because there was a seed that was implanted within me, and I had to nurture that seed, and I had to plant it in good soil so that it was time for fruition. It was time to share the fruit.
Yeah. How old were you when that happened?
Probably when I was about 15.
Yeah, okay. So a long time ago.
That's right.
Planting the seed in good soil and then making sure you've got the right amount of sun or shade on there, getting the environment.
That's right. I believe that, we are a tree. Like we weren't meant to just give out seeds. We were actually meant to give people the fruit. So if you think about fruit, people have to pick that fruit off the tree, right?
Yes.
And that's what we're here to give them.
Oh, well said. All right, let's jump into the M26 in 26. You ready?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, what does the word mindset mean for you?
Mindset means value. Definitely means transformation. Transformation means knowledge. Knowledge means revelation. And revelation means having a deep understanding.
Yeah, that's very well put. Okay, the smartest person you've sat in a room with, who would that be?
Of recent times, I'd say it's going to be online, taking into account where we are with the world, and that would be Dr. Miles Monroe.
Okay.
And why I thought he was the smartest, because he actually made me realize that we can spend a lot of time in books and reading and attending events, and it's only when we understand what we're actually going through or reading or learning, it's when we get the understanding that we can say that we have ownership.
Yeah. Very, very well put. Pushpa, what's been the most important lesson that you've ever learned?
Don't trust.
Don't trust. Full stop?
Full stop. I have, and that comes with experience. One of the things in life I believe is that, for me, I believe that I want to work with people that have experienced it. And I had this thing going on in my life that I would always trust everybody, and I've been burnt a few times.
So overly trusting.
Overly trusting, and that doesn't mean I don't respect them. I will respect everybody. I will love everybody unconditionally, but now the trust has to be earned.
Yeah, yeah. Describe your definition of discipline.
Discipline for me is correction. So getting feedback, getting correction, and being open to it. And it doesn't mean we have to take all the feedback. We can choose to take what feedback, but just being open to be vulnerable and thinking about it. And that's what discipline is it really is that.
Okay. Describe yourself in 3 words.
Resilient, leader, and loving.
Oh, that's wonderful. What's been the greatest decision that you've ever made?
Coming to Australia.
And was that a decision you made personally? That wasn't a family, so family's still in the UK?
Yeah, all the families in the UK, and that decision came out of the blue. So my husband passed away 22 years ago, and at that time we had a family business. So the family business was good. However, I needed change in my life. Being a widow in the young Indian culture is interesting. So I just finished my accounting degree. The Revenue and Customs were hunting senior tax auditors, so they hunted me. From there, I got secondment to the Treasury. And when I was at the Treasury, we had accountants come in from Canberra and Perth, and I thought, how can I get away that's so far across the hemisphere, across the world, and people would have to think twice about coming to visit me? And I thought, okay, let's go to Australia.
And the rest is history. Brave move back after what you've just been through to travel to the other side of the world. But clearly, it's been positive for you.
That's right. I still have to understand how it all happened.
Yeah.
Yes.
And what's been the most practical advice that you've ever received?
Practical would be to believe in yourself and don't live to impress other people.
How true is that?
Yes.
Easier said than done too.
That's right. It's taken a lot of years to train, like from a very childhood, and from my culture, we've always been brought up to do what make others happy. And I still do that. However, everything that I do, it has to be for the right reasons. There's doing good and there's doing the right thing.
Yeah.
Two totally different things.
And being true to yourself.
That's right.
Yeah. Growing up, did you have a childhood idol or somebody that you looked up to?
Yes, Elvis Presley.
Really?
Yeah, I loved his songs. We used to have the old records.
Yep.
I think his words just had so much meaning. I think it was a depth of emotions that he had in his songs. Whatever was, he came from his heart.
Did you ever get to see him in concert?
No, unfortunately, Elvis died. It was interesting because he and my mother were born in the same year and they passed away in the same year.
Okay.
And so when he died, we had one wall in our lounge that just had Elvis's poster. It was like going through a 12-day mourning for us.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah.
It's quite fascinating, isn't it, when you think about it, the same year for both.
Yes, and two people we very dearly loved. One, somebody that was with us all the time, and somebody that we never saw.
And what drives you, Pushpa? What gives you inspiration?
To serve.
To serve.
Yes.
Yeah.
For myself, I believe I'm here to serve others, unconditionally love. And I have seen, with the people that have come across my paths, and that's thousands in a year. Unfortunately, a lot of people don't even know what love is.
No, but it's great to see. I think that when you just look at what you're doing at the moment, you are very, very truly just serving. So hats off, well done.
Thank you.
And your favourite saying, Pushpa, do you have one?
Favourite saying is keep going up. So I do a lot of quotes myself and I come out with different ones, but one that really resonates with my heart that I tell myself is to step out and step up.
Yeah.
Yes.
I like the step up part because, it's difficult to do both, but, when you've stepped out, just continuously climbing up and growing and learning every day.
That's right.
What are you passionate about? I know we've touched on that, but you're passionate about a lot of things, but give us some specifics.
At the moment, I'm passionate about my grandson. So he's 9 months old and we've got a granddaughter coming in September. So after my husband passed away 22 years ago, it's beautiful to see that we've been blessed with an extended family now.
Yeah. What's his name?
Jaden.
Jaden.
Yeah, he's so cute.
I can imagine. I was with a friend of mine and their little baby on the weekend, and it brings back a few memories when your own kids grow up, and so I'm looking forward to some grandkids at one stage myself. So
you'll love the hugging. People say the best thing is when you give them back to the mother, but he's just just joy and innocence. I truly believe that babies come with a gift, and it's great to see that evolving.
Yeah, they're adorable, aren't they?
Yes, for sure.
All right, define leadership.
Leadership has to come with integrity. And integrity is a great value that all leaders should have. And that starts with yourself. So your self-love, having it, being true to yourself. So there's the honesty side of things. There's the being truthful side of things. I see them as when you've given your word to somebody that you're going to see it through. Or if you've promised something, you're going to see it through. Integrity is being honest with yourself. So if you've said something to yourself, see it through.
Yeah.
There's so many times and so often, even in today's day and age, there are so many leaders that promise themselves they're going to, grow or serve at a different level or look after themselves, and it doesn't happen.
Exactly. I've lost count the amount of times, and it's something I hold dear as well, just in that integrity piece. That, like you said, it's quite simple that if you say you're going to do something or you say you're going to be somewhere, do it.
Yes.
And unfortunately, I think in, like you said, today's ever-changing world, not as many people stick to doing what they say they're going to do.
Yes, and hence the reason I've researched a lot of ancient leadership.
Yep.
It's a totally different aspect to the leadership that we're taught today.
Compared to back in history.
Back in history, yeah, whether it's the Indian culture, whether it's the biblical principles, Buddhism, principles are the same. But even if you think of our great warriors, if they decided to do something, they went ahead and did it.
Yeah. Would you mind sharing a challenging moment that you faced in your life and how and what got you through that?
So I have had 7 falls, which is interesting. You know how they say fall 7 times, get up 8? I suppose the most challenging was deciding to leave the UK and come here into something that I didn't know, and just trusting my instinct and bringing the 2 children with me. Like, I had no idea what the future was going to hold. And it was really weird. Like, I came and then it was like as if I knew everything already. I knew where the town centre was. We originally moved to Robina, and it just felt like home as soon as we settled in.
How old were the kids then?
My son, he would have been probably 16, 17, and she would have just been around 19, 20.
Yeah. Big shift and a big shock for those guys as well, leaving their friends behind in the UK and
yes,
travelling to another country. Big step.
I think they were looking forward to the change with everything that was happening in our lives at that time. So it was exciting.
Positive energy, new start, new country.
That's right. We were all ready for it.
Yeah. Goals and dreams. Pushpa, what are your top 3?
So goal is always to continue doing what I love doing, and that's serving. My dream is to take the Women's Mentoring Foundation to the next level. So we are on a national basis and ideally taking that to an international. It did go international over COVID and we still get people joining us. But I have my other organization, Leaders by Design, and that's growing. So helping a lot of the small businesses at this moment, small, medium, and teaching the true essence of leadership.
Fantastic. Nutrition, Pushpa, how important is it for you, and what do you feed both your mind and your body?
So nutrition for me is really important. 4 years ago, I was, I won't say diagnosed, but I was pretty ill. And then following about 18 months after that, I was in a major car accident. And it really helped me realize why your body is important. So what you do, the strong mind, the strong body, it has to be a must. People are suffering when they could so easily change everything. And so, and on the food side of things, I've controlled the way that I eat. So I aim to eat 1 or 2 meals a day. One thing, though, I have to admit is the dessert. I'm sorry. I'm not a chocolate eater, but when it comes to cakes and custard and...
That's your vice.
Yeah, apple pie and custard.
That's fair enough. Appreciate your honesty.
Yeah.
What frustrates you? Do you ever get frustrated?
I'm doing some work with youth at the moment. I've done some work with youth juvenile, but currently children in year 11 and 12, and that they are on a computer all the time. They don't write. There's no notebooks. I believe there's no creativity. And you're in the health industry, so when you see their physiology, you know their breath is being compromised, the way that they're living their life is being compromised. If they're looking down, they're just not breathing right. And that's how it is. And I don't go into a negative emotion, but it saddens me to see that.
Yes.
Yes.
I can imagine, because you teach at university, you lecture at university too. Is it similar at that age bracket when they're just that little bit older and have left school as well, do you think?
Yeah, by that time they've already started the damage in their physical body.
So the bad habits have begun during those schooling years and they just continue that into the university life.
Absolutely. I was up north, and I won't take any names, big projects happening there, and I'd be driving to work early in the morning. Kids had been dropped off at school 6 a.m. so the parents could go to work, given $15, $20, $5 for McDonald's, $5 for a pizza, $5 for KFC or something, and they'd probably see their parents at 6 o'clock at night.
That's not ideal.
Yep, and yet that's happening.
Not good. What does having a strong mind and a strong body mean for you?
Strong mind would be to have that certainty, to definitely have peace, and having detachment. So for myself, the detachment process took many years on a spiritual level. And that's what I believe has, really impacted my transcendental journey.
Has that helped you with resilience as well, do you think?
Absolutely, because it's from a very young age, we have family, we have relationships, we meet people, we have that attachment. When we don't have expectations, there is no pain, there's only appreciation of what it is. And because we've traveled that journey, we can come from a level of empathy. I feel that if I was attached, it might impact the way that I can influence people as well. So I come from a total place of love, care, and servitude, and no judgment, no opinion, because even then, if you've opinionated or if you've judged, that's going to impact the way that you can influence them as well and serve them.
Yeah. And what about the strong body part? What's that mean for you?
Strong body part, I have to work on that as well. I believe that if you work on your body, that's going to impact your mindset. You've only got one body, one physical body. Yeah. And if you truly look after it, I believe it's going to increase your age as well.
Yeah. So that leads us on to the next question. What's a favourite physical activity that you enjoy?
At the moment, I enjoy karate, because having 9 brothers, I never got to do anything like that.
Wow.
And I've just, 3 months ago, got my advanced green belt.
Well done. That's awesome. I would have never have picked you for a karate kid. So
yeah, it's interesting. The kicks aren't as high as our black belts, and we'll get there.
No. So how do you enjoy? Because obviously there's a discipline component with karate as well. So you obviously enjoyed both the physicality side of it and then the mental side of it as well.
Absolutely. So when that fall happened 4 years ago, I thought, what is one thing that I've always desired to do? And I joined it. And then my accident happened, and I wasn't allowed to do anything for 14 months physically. But I went back to it 9 months after, because I said, this is a dream I'm not going to let go of. I didn't tell the medical people. I just went and did it. But that's what actually helped me heal, because I couldn't even lift my shoulders up. I had metal plates in my arms. My legs weren't bending. The knees were compromised. And I went back, and the senpai was like, yes, you can come back. And then he sussed out a couple of months later. He goes, you haven't told your doctors, have you? And I said, no. And he goes, just be careful. And I'm not saying everybody's got to do that, but I maintained it.
Yeah. And you found that obviously not only that helped your physical recovery, but your mental recovery as well, because 14 months is a long time to enjoy any level of recovery. So it was obviously a pretty serious accident. And
yes, the doctors, because I'm hyper. I have, for over 30 years, I slept 3 hours a day. I actually studied my uni degree between 2 and 5 a.m. And because I'm so physically active, they said that if you don't stop, your hands and everything's going to be deformed. And that's when it triggered, I have to stop. So literally I was forcing myself watching 3 movies a day. And then I started working slowly. So I haven't got all the movements back, but it's there.
You're working on it.
Yeah, I'm working on it. Yes, I'm back.
Good on you. And if you could change one thing in the world, what would that be?
Teach people to start loving themselves. And when they do that, they can love other people, because we can't give to others what we don't have.
Yeah, no, very, very well said. Success habits, Pushpa. Name 3 things that you do consistently every day.
Read.
Read, yep.
Write. So read, and I make notes on what's positive. And look after my body, my physical body. After that accident, I feel that I really need to watch that and laugh. I really laugh.
We've got a question coming up on that one later. What's your biggest regret? Do you have one?
Biggest regret was I wish my mom could have lived a little longer, because she was a smart lady, a great leader. And it was sad to see her go when she was only 42, and she had all of us to give her this beautiful life. So the regret, I don't know if it's a regret, but it took me over 8 years to recover from her.
Yeah, well, that's very young, isn't it?
Yes, being the only girl at home, I had dreams for her.
Yeah. What are you most proud of?
Definitely proud of my children. We've traveled a journey. And they're independent, they're settled, they've got their own homes, and they're extending their families.
All right, now we got the laughing question. So we all know that it's very good for you and good for your mental health. What makes you laugh, and do you laugh very often?
Yes, laughter, I find when I went through all these challenges, I found that it's just there. And I've got to use sensory acuity that I don't start laughing at everything, and to put on that straight face when I need to. But at the moment, anything and everything could trigger my laughing.
Yeah.
And especially if I've watched something funny, like a movie or something, I'll keep going back to that part, and because it just makes you laugh. And I'm not going to say this, but I'll share it with you later, what I've been watching lately. It's so funny.
So when you're doing that work, like in that Tony Robbins space, for example, is it something that he teaches as well from a physicality and mental strength perspective, that is a practice that we should do more often?
One of the things that Tony really focuses on is that everything that we do in life is 80% psychology and 20% is your state. And even though I studied psychology, that was just studying what the process is. We don't really think about it, that our thoughts, our actions, our psychic impacts what we do each day. And the state, your physical, your emotional state impacts that. And, it's just like you're saying, like you're doing with the mind and the body. And then just checking in with yourself, what are my thoughts? Where am I living with my emotions? Are my thoughts about what I'm doing, or are they focused on what other people are doing? Are they even focused on what other people's opinions of me are? Because a lot of our population is living in that space.
100% they are, aren't they?
Yes, that they are living because they feel that that's what's expected of them.
Yeah, not being true to themselves.
No, and there's so much Magnus on how to do things to you physically that's going to make you look younger or look different. It doesn't change what's inside, though.
It doesn't.
No.
So you mentioned you do a bit of reading. What would be your top 3 books that you've read?
The first one, definitely the Bible. The second one, there was a karate book. I'm not a reader, by the way. And the third one was Jane Eyre, my first literature book.
Okay. That's 3 interesting books. The Bible's come up a couple of times on the program now, so interesting.
Yes. There's a lot of learnings. Most of the, I do have another small organization called the Leadership Kingdom. And And I know majority of the leaders that are doing great work, most of their principles are based on the Bible.
Yeah.
Yes.
And obviously you've had a pretty wide and varied background. So what would be the most practical tip that you could give us today?
As in leadership or as a human being?
As a human being.
As a human being, I would say live life in appreciation.
Yep. Be appreciative.
That's right.
Yeah, be grateful.
For everything that you have.
Yeah. All right, last question. Finish this sentence. I believe.
I believe in you.
Well put. Right, thank you so much for coming in to chat with us today, Pushpa. I appreciate your time. I love your passion. I love what you stand for and what you're doing, in particular the charity work. You're a very, very lovely human. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Magnus. Thank you so much for having me.
Our pleasure.
Thank you for joining in on today's episode, and I hope this Strong Mind, Strong Body series empowers and inspires you. Make sure you've subscribed to our channel and leave a comment if you enjoyed today's podcast. You can also check out our website for more info about M26FIT at m26fit.au.